Hello everybody and welcome to part 3 of my Formula One Encyclopedia read-through, and today we are going to be carrying on covering some of the driver profiles from that section of the book. Last time we got up to Mike Hawthorne, so we are still in the early part of the alphabet. There is quite a lot to get through, so hopefully we will cover quite a lot in today's video. So we're going to carry straight on from where we finished last time, and we're going to go straight on to the next driver, another English driver. We seem to be covering quite a lot of those lately, and the next driver is Damon Hill. Now, Damon Hill was born on the 17th of September 1960 in London. He started 116 Grand Prix and gained 22 victories over his career. He scored 300, where did I get that number from? He scored 360 points in total, and he was world champion in 1996. 8 victories, clinch title. Despite the inevitable comparisons with his father, Damon Hill overcame media scrutiny to make his own mark, emulating Graham's achievement by taking the world title in 1996. Moving from motorcycles, his first love, to four wheels was not initially a resounding success. Between 1986 and 1988, Hill competed in the British F3 Championship, improving each year to finish third in his final campaign. 3 years in F3000 followed, where he showed himself to be a genuine racer despite mediocre hardware. His performances landed him a test driving contract at Williams, where he helped develop the car that swept Mansell to glory in 1992. Hill made his F1 debut with a declining Brabham team that year, struggling even to qualify in a poor Judd-powered car. Mansell's departure to IndyCars in 1993 opened the door at Williams, and Hill found himself partnering three-time champion Alain Prost. After a series of podium finishes, Hill recorded his first win in Hungary and added 2 more to take third in the title race. It might have been even better had he not suffered engine failure whilst leading the British Grand Prix, and a puncture when he was within sight of victory at Hockenheim. Senna replaced Prost at Williams in 1994, but after the Brazilian's death at Imola, Hill became Williams' lead driver. He rose to the challenge, his battle with Benetton's Michael Schumacher ending with a controversial clash in the Adelaide decider. Hill lost out by a single point, though 6 wins helped Williams complete a hat-trick of constructors' titles. Hill was again runner-up to Schumacher in 1995, but in the following season he took the crown, scoring 8 victories in the 16-race series to see off the challenge of teammate Jacques Villeneuve. Williams had already decided he was surplus to requirements, and Hill spent a year with Arrows, followed by 2 seasons at Jordan. These yielded a single victory, Spa 1998 marking Jordan's maiden success. Hill retired in 1999, having carved his place in the record books as the only son of a champion to take the title. And now we're going to move on to his father, Graham Hill. Graham Hill was born on the 15th of February 1929, also in London, and died on the 29th of November 1975. He started 176 Grand Prix and scored 14 victories and 289 points in total. He was world champion in 1962 and 1968. Britain's Blue Ribbon champion. Graham Hill was an outstanding driver whose extrovert character was very different from that of his great rival, Jim Clark, although the two shared a steely resolve. As Clark signed for Lotus in 1960, Hill left for BRM, accumulating just 7 points in his first 2 seasons with them. By 1962, both the car and Hill's results had improved. His maiden victory in the opening race at Zandvoort was followed by wins in Germany and Italy, snatching the title from Clark in the final race that season. In the next 3 championship series, Hill finished runner-up, to Clark in 1963 and 1965, and to Ferrari's John Surtees in 1964, losing the title by a single point that year. In 1966, Hill had a disappointing championship, although he did win the Indy 500 driving a Lola Ford. In 1967, he rejoined Lotus, now with the new Cosworth DFV engine, and looked set for an assault on the 1968 championship. Teammate Clark's death at Hockenheim early in the season and the loss of Mike Spence at Indianapolis shattered the morale of the Lotus camp. Hill restored it with 3 victories in Spain, Monaco and Mexico on the way to his 2nd world title. He slid down the rankings in 1969, although he took his 5th Monaco victory. A crash at Watkins Glen, should I say, left him with severe leg injuries, and it was clear that his best days were behind him. He retired in 1975 and remains the only driver to complete the blue ribboned treble, the World Championship, the Indy 500 and Le Mans, which he achieved in 1972. After retirement, Hill concentrated on establishing his own team, Embassy Hill. He and 5 team members were killed in November 1975 when the plane he was piloting crashed in fog near Elstree. Seem to be messing up a lot of my words today. Anyway, we're going to move on to the 3rd Hill in a row. This was Phil Hill. Phil Hill was born on the 20th of April 1927 in Miami, and he died on the 28th of August 2008. He started 48 Grand Prix, had 3 wins and a points total of 98, and became world champion in 1961, which is pretty impressive considering that he only won 3 races. America's first world champion. Having enjoyed success in sports cars and winning Le Mans, Phil Hill made his debut at the 1958 French Grand Prix, finishing 7th. He had already caught the eye of Ferrari and was soon signed. He spent the next 4 years with the team. His progress was steady. 2 second places in France and Italy moved him to 4th in the 1959 championship. In 1960 he dropped 1 place, though he took a victory at Monza. Having lagged the field in 1960, Ferrari introduced a new 1.5 litre formula in 1961, and by the penultimate race, Monza, the title was up for grabs between Ferrari teammates Phil Hill and Wolfgang von Trips. The German clashed with Jim Clark's Lotus on the first lap of the race and was killed, along with 12 spectators. Hill won the race and with it the title, but his achievement was deeply overshadowed by the tragedy. In 1962, Ferrari fell behind the British teams, and the following year Hill joined a Ferrari breakaway team which left to set up ATS. He failed to gain a single point, and a season with Cooper was scarcely better, yielding only a 6th place at Brands Hatch. After that, Hill concentrated on sports car racing and retired in 1967 due to ill health. He died in 2008. Denny Hulme. Denny Hulme was born on the 18th of March 1936 in Nelson in New Zealand, and he died on the 4th of October 1992. He started 112 Grand Prix, should I say. He won 8 of them, scored a points total of 248, and he was world champion in 1967. Hulme edges out Brabham. Denny Hulme travelled to Britain in 1960 to compete in Formula Junior, and a year later was working as a mechanic for Jack Brabham's fledgling outfit. Having driven Works Brabhams in Formula Junior, the Tasman Series and Formula 2, Hulme was promoted to F1 in 1965. Replacing Dan Gurney, who was competing at Indianapolis, he made his debut at Monaco, finishing 8th. 2 races later, Brabham made way for the New Zealander at Clermont-Ferrand, and he repaid his boss with 4th place. In 1966, Gurney's departure left Hulme as official number 2. Brabham won his 3rd title that year, and Hulme made the podium 4 times to secure 4th place in the championship. A year later, it was his turn. At Monaco, he took the lead after the fatal crash of Ferrari's Lorenzo Bandini, and went on to score his maiden victory. Victory at the Nürburgring and 3rd place in the final race, the Mexican Grand Prix, was enough to give Hulme the title. In 1968, Hulme joined McLaren, taking 2 more victories to finish 3rd in that year's championship. There were just 4 more wins over the next 6 years, 1972 being his best, with a 39-point haul giving Hulme 3rd behind Fittipaldi and Stewart. He remained at McLaren until his retirement in 1974. Hulme died from a heart attack whilst competing in Australia's Bathurst touring car race in 1992. James Hunt. James Hunt was born on the 29th of August 1947 in Belmont in England, and died on the 15th of June 1993. He started 92 races, got 10 wins and 179 points in total, and he was world champion in 1976. Thrilling Hunt the Shunt lifts world crown. James Hunt's early forays into motor racing began with a humble Mini, moving on to Formula Ford and F3, signing for the March F3 team in 1972. Within a year he had departed to join forces with Lord Hesketh's Maverick outfit, and a step up to F2, and Hunt showed he had the speed to handle the step up in class. Having made his F1 debut in 1973, Hunt finished second behind Ronnie Peterson in the final race of the year at Watkins Glen. That gave him a highly respectable 8th place in the championship, and the following season saw him match that performance, this time in the team's own car. In 1975, improvements to the car saw him finish 4th in the table, having beaten eventual champion Niki Lauda into 2nd place at Zandvoort to secure his maiden victory. Hesketh's withdrawal from the Grand Prix circuit at the end of 1975 saw Hunt replacing Emerson Fittipaldi at McLaren. 1976 was a thrilling season, with Hunt and Ferrari's Niki Lauda battling for the crown to the finish. His first win for McLaren came in Spain, but at Silverstone his victory points were expunged following an infringement of the rules governing the car's dimensions. With Lauda out following his horrific accident at the Nürburgring, Hunt was back in contention, and he went into the final race, the Japanese Grand Prix, 3 points behind Lauda. Lauda withdrew in appalling weather conditions, and Hunt went on to secure 3rd place and the title. Despite 3 more victories in 1977, McLaren was in decline, and by the following year, Hunt appeared to lose motivation and enthusiasm. He quit mid-season in 1979 and went on to become an F1 TV commentator until his death from a heart attack in 1993. Jackie Ickx was born on the 1st of January 1945 in Brussels, in Belgium. He started 116 races and won 8 of them, with 181 points in total. Belgium's bright young talent. Emerging as one of motor racing's brightest young talents in the 1960s, Jackie Ickx progressed from trials riding and hill climbs to saloon cars in rapid succession. In 1965 he signed for Tyrrell and was given his World Championship debut in the 1966 German Grand Prix, albeit in an F2 Matra Ford. In 1967 the young Belgian divided his time, winning the European F2 title whilst making the occasional F1 appearance. He qualified his F2 car at the Nürburgring and made his way from the back of the grid through to 4th before his suspension gave out. 2 races later, driving for Cooper at Monza, he finished 6th to gain his first championship point. There followed a move to Ferrari, where he finished 4th in the title race, outpacing teammate Chris Amon and giving Ferrari their only win of the season at Rouen. When Rindt left Brabham for Lotus, Ickx was drafted in as replacement and had a fine year, winning in Germany and Canada to finish runner-up to Stewart and adding a Le Mans victory to his achievements. He returned to Ferrari and remained there for the next 4 years, adding 5 more wins over the first 3 seasons. After 1970, the car became increasingly uncompetitive, and Ickx quit midway through the 1973 season to join Lotus, scoring 15 points in 2 seasons. Outings for Williams, Ensign and Ligier between 1976 and 1979 were not noteworthy, and from then on he concentrated on sports cars, winning Le Mans for a 6th time in 1982. Alan Jones. Alan Jones was born on the 2nd of November 1946 in Melbourne in Australia. He started 116 races, scored 12 victories and got 206 points in total, and he was a 1-time world champion in 1980. First constructors' title for Williams. Unlike his racing driver father, Alan Jones travelled to Europe from Australia to compete on the biggest stages. Having spent 5 years in the junior ranks, his F1 debut came in a privately entered Hesketh in 1975. He also drove that year for Graham Hill's fledgling Embassy Racing and gained a 5th place for Germany. The deaths of Hill and 5 of his team in a plane crash at the end of the year left Jones looking for a new challenge. He then spent a year with John Surtees, notching up 7 points in his one season there. By the fourth race of the 1977 season, he was driving for Shadow to replace Tom Price, who had been killed at Kyalami. Jones scored a stunning success in Austria, giving him and the team their first podium finish and beating Lauda into the bargain. In 1978, he linked up with Williams, and towards the end of the 1979 season, Jones took 4 wins in 5 starts to finish third in the championship. With more than 5 wins in 1980, he took the crown, staving off the challenge of Brabham's Piquet, and Williams had their first constructors' title. Jones scored 2 more wins to make third in the 1981 championship, then announced his retirement. He made 2 comebacks but failed to do justice to his talent. Right, next up we've got another interesting addition, should I say. We've got Heikki Kovalainen in this book. Heikki Kovalainen was born on the 19th of October 1981 in Suomussalmi, I'm going to go with, in Finland. He started 90 races at the time of this book coming out, but I don't think he competed after 2011, so I think that's as it is. He won one of those races and scored 105 points in total. Lotus's Flying Finn. Heikki Kovalainen spent a long apprenticeship on the karting scene in his homeland, culminating in his becoming Nordic champion in 2000. He took the Elf Masters title the same year, his last before making the step up to car racing in the British Formula Renault series. He finished 4th in the 2001 championship, not quite as impressive as compatriot Kimi Räikkönen, who won the event the preceding year, but 2 wins did help him bring him the Rookie of the Year award. In 2002, Kovalainen competed in the British F3 Championship, taking 3rd place to confirm his reputation as one of the sport's rising stars. He played second fiddle to experienced teammate Frank Montagny at the 2003 World Series by Nissan Championship, but lifted the title the following year, driving for Pons Racing. 2004 also saw him win the individual title at the Race of Champions, beating David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher en route to victory in Paris. He was edged into second place by Nico Rosberg in a thrilling inaugural GP2 championship in 2005. The following year he became Renault's main test driver, and when Fernando Alonso departed to McLaren at the end of his second title-winning campaign, Kovalainen was promoted to the vacant race seat in 2007. He scored 30 points in his debut season in the elite division, the highlight coming at Fuji Speedway, where he fended off Raikkonen's attention to take second behind Lewis Hamilton in a race run in appalling conditions. It was the Finns' first podium and Renault's best result of the year. Kovalainen outpointed teammate Giancarlo Fisichella. When Renault welcomed Alonso back for the 2008 campaign, Kovalainen was on the move, taking Alonso's McLaren berth. He was the junior partner as Lewis Hamilton mounted a successful title charge, but he did notch 3 more podium finishes, including a maiden victory at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Comfortably outscored by Hamilton again the following season, Button's arrival in 2010 meant he was on the move again, this time to the new Lotus outfit. They were the pick of the 3 debutants, and Kovalainen regularly outgunned his teammate Jarno Trulli during the first 2 seasons, albeit without adding to his points haul. You've got to wonder though, with his junior career, how he didn't do a lot better than he did. It's kind of weird. Robert Kubica. Robert Kubica was born on the 7th of December 1984 in Krakow in Poland. He started 76 Grand Prix at the time of this book coming out, but obviously from 2019 he'll be starting a lot more. And he scored 1 victory during that time with 273 points in total. Poland's first Formula One star. When Jacques Villeneuve announced he was quitting BMW Sauber midway through the 2006 season, he seemed to have predicted the way the wind was blowing. The former world champion's contract was up at the end of the year, and it became clear that the team was looking to promote 21-year-old test driver Robert Kubica. Kubica may have got the drive at the Hungarian Grand Prix only because Villeneuve hadn't fully recovered from a spill at Hockenheim, but it was obvious that the pole represented the team's long-term future. Kubica finished 7th in Hungary, only to be disqualified when it was found his car was underweight. That took the edge off of an impressive debut, though it was no surprise when he was installed as Jacques Villeneuve's long-term replacement. Kubica showed a prodigious talent behind the wheel from a young age, lifting 6 domestic karting titles before decamping to Italy, where the competition was stiffer. He took that country's championship in 1998, the first non-Italian to receive those particular laurels. He picked up more karting honours over the next 2 years before switching to Formula Renault 2000. He went on to compete in the European F3 Championship, but his biggest success came in 2005, where he took the World Series by Renault title. That earned him a test for Renault's F1 team, but it was BMW Sauber who enlisted his services for 2006, his breakthrough year. Kubica took 3rd place at Monza in 2006, stepping up onto the podium in only his 3rd race. He was regularly in the points in 2007 and finished 6th in the championship, despite a spectacular spill in Montreal, which put him out of the race. Are they calling a crash a spill? That's a crash, I'm sorry. That's not a spill, that's a crash. Spectacular crash in Montreal, which put him out of that race and the next. In 2008 he kept pace with the title contenders from McLaren and Ferrari, and when he scored his maiden victory in Canada, Kubica led the championship. He remained in contention for the crown until the penultimate round and finished the year level on points with Raikkonen, who edged him for 3rd place by dint of race wins. An uncompetitive car hampered Kubica's chances in 2009, and he rejoined Renault at the end of the year after BMW withdrew from the sport. BMW Sauber's final year in F1 was a forgettable one for Kubica. He joined Renault for the 2010 campaign and clocked up 3 more podiums and 136 points, a decent return in a year dominated by Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren. In February 2011 he suffered career-threatening injuries whilst competing in a rally in Italy. Nick Heidfeld, his former Sauber teammate, and Bruno Senna shared the cover duties that season. Kubica suffered a setback early in 2012, delaying his return to a team that had morphed into Lotus F1 in his absence. Niki Lauda. Niki Lauda was born on the 22nd of February 1949 in Vienna, in Austria. He started 171 races, scored 25 victories and had a points total of 420.5. He was a 3-time world champion in 1975, 1977 and 1984. Remarkable comeback from the 3 times champion. Niki Lauda's return to F1 racing just 6 weeks after the horrific fireball accident at the Nürburgring is one of sport's most remarkable comebacks. His determination and self-belief were evident from the start, working his way from F2 into F1 with Constructors' March by 1970. A season at BRM in 1973 produced just 2 points for a 5th place at Zolder. The following year, Lauda began his 4-season association with Ferrari, teaming up with Clay Regazzoni. In their first season, Regazzoni outpointed him, the duo finishing 2nd and 4th respectively in the championship, although Regazzoni had won just once and Lauda twice, but he had suffered a number of retirements. But in 1975, Lauda won 5 races to clinch the world title with a race to spare, and give Ferrari its first title since Surtees 11 years earlier. 1976 saw epic battles with Hunt and McLaren, and that crash at the Nürburgring where Lauda received the last rites. Terribly scarred, he returned to the fray at Monza 6 weeks later. He pulled out of the final race at Suzuka owing to appalling conditions, allowing Hunt to take the title by 1 point. Despite roaring back in 1977 to take a 2nd title with Ferrari, Lauda had a difficult year with the team and quit to join Brabham in 1978. This move produced a respectable 44 points and 4th place, but 1979 proved disastrous and the Austrian announced his retirement. 3 years later he returned with McLaren, topping the podium in just his 3rd race and finishing 5th overall in the 1982 championship. 1983 was disappointing, but a year later he blew away his competitors, taking the title from teammate Alain Prost by half a point, the closest championship finish ever. Lauda is the only man to come out of retirement and reclaim the world title. He won his 25th and final Grand Prix at Zandvoort in 1985, retiring at the end of that season. Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell was born on the 8th of August 1953 on Upton-on-Severn in England. He started 187 races, scored 31 victories and 482 points in total, and he was world champion in 1992. Fierce competitor, 5th on all-time list. Mansell's championship winning season of 1992 was the crowning glory of more than 2 decades in competitive motorsport. It was a year of outstanding achievement as he took pole in all but 2 of the races and won 9 of them, to become the first man to rack up over a century of points. His nearest rival, Riccardo Patrese, finished a staggering 52 points behind. Having made his F1 debut for Lotus in 1980 at the Austrian Grand Prix, Mansell spent 4 more seasons with the team. Moving to Williams in 1985 transformed his career, with 2 victories at the European and South African Grand Prix, helping him to 6th place in the championship. In 1986 and 1987 he was runner-up, first to Prost where he blew a tyre in the final race, allowing Prost to snatch the crown. In the second he lost out to teammate Nelson Piquet, despite scoring 6 wins that year. Over the next 3 years Mansell was out of contention for the title. Lured back to Williams in 1991, he finished runner-up for a 3rd time, a tally of 5 wins not being quite enough to outdo Senna. After his victory in 1992, Mansell turned to IndyCars, winning 5 races and a 1993 championship. He made a dramatic return to F1 and Williams following Senna's death in 1994, recording his 31st and final win at the Austrian Grand Prix in Adelaide. Hill and Coulthard were confirmed as drivers for Williams for 1995, and Mansell began the season with McLaren, but quit for permanent retirement after 2 races. He stands 5th in the all-time list for Grand Prix victories, behind Schumacher, Prost, Senna and Piquet. Felipe Massa. Felipe Massa was born on the 25th of April 1981 in Sao Paulo in Brazil. He'd started 153 races at the time of this book coming out, and 11 victories by that point, and I'm pretty sure he never won a race after that. He scored 582 points at this time. Ferrari's Brazilian ace. For a few brief moments at Interlagos on the 2nd of November 2008, the Ferrari camp thought Felipe Massa had secured the world crown, and the passionate home fans were ready to acclaim their first champion since Ayrton Senna in 1991. Lewis Hamilton spoiled the party with his last gasp manoeuvre that saw him pass Timo Glock to snatch 5th place, and with it the title by a single point. Massa hid his disappointment and congratulated the new champion in a display of magnanimity that was a fitting template for all sportsmen. "I know how to lose and I know how to win," said the Brazilian ace. He certainly showed the winning mentality in 2008, outgunning Hamilton 6-5 in terms of top of the podium finishes, and he had the consolation of helping Ferrari to yet another constructors' title. Perhaps more significantly, after 3 successive top 4 finishes in the Drivers' Championship, the preeminent individual award was getting ever closer. Sao Paulo-born Massa had 7 years in karting before stepping up to Formula Chevrolet at the age of 17. He took just 1 season to adjust before lifting that title, after which he moved to Europe to compete in Formula Renault, following in the footsteps of such luminaries as Alain Prost and René Arnoux. In 2000 he won both the European and Italian Formula Renault titles at a time when future Ferrari teammate Kimi Raikkonen was taking the laurels in the British equivalent. The Euro F3000 series was the next port of call, and 6 wins out of 8 bought him that championship. It also earned him an invitation from Sauber to join the F1 ranks in 2002, replacing the departing Raikkonen. That proved a steep learning curve, and he had his share of spins when pushing hard. 4 points and 13th place was not the kind of return the Brazilian was used to for a season's efforts. He spent the following year as a Ferrari test driver, and he was older and wiser when he returned to Sauber in 2004, helped by the fact that the team was using Ferrari power. He garnered 12 points with the best place finish of 4th in an accident-ridden race at Spa. There was a similar return in 2005, the year in which Peter Sauber sold out to BMW, after which Massa moved to Ferrari to take over Barrichello's long-held number 2 berth to Michael Schumacher. Schumacher and Alonso fought a ding-dong battle in 2006, but Massa was the best of the rest, albeit 41 points adrift of his teammate. That campaign was notable for his first 2 victories, scored in Istanbul and in his home race. It was Schumacher's swan song year, and Massa found himself partnering Raikkonen in 2007. There were 3 more victories, though he eventually finished 4th in a Ferrari-McLaren duel won by Kimi. A year later, Massa thought he had matched his teammate's achievement when he took the checkered flag in Brazil, but Hamilton had done just enough to secure the crown. His 2009 campaign ended with a freak accident during qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Massa sustaining injuries that required a metal plate to be fitted into his skull. He was back for 2010, though had to play second fiddle to new teammate Fernando Alonso. Things came to a head in Germany, where he was told to allow the Spaniard through, sparking a team orders row reminiscent of the Schumacher-Barrichello debacle at the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix. He finished no higher than 5th in 2011, whilst Alonso recorded 10 podiums, a disparity that cast doubt over his future among the front-running outfits. Right, so I think that's where we're going to end this for today, because I can feel my throat dying a little bit. So yeah, I think that's a suitable place to end. So we will carry on in part 4, where hopefully we'll be able to get the rest of the drivers done, because we managed to get quite a chunk done today, so hopefully we'll be able to actually finish the drivers off in the next part and then move on to the history. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. As ever, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like, and if you're new, why not hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you once again. If you'd like to check me out on social media and check out my other channels, the links to those will be in the description below. But I think that's pretty much everything from me, so thank you once again. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it relaxing, and I will see you for the next part. Bye for now.